Hi, I want to testify of how God has set me free from worshiping Him religiously and going by my feelings because before I would do that. I've been a Christian my whole life, so I've been to a lot of, Christian camps where there are worship nights and stuff like that. But every time when there's worship, it's always been so weird. It's so easy for us to go with our emotions and oh, when we feel like worshiping God, then we do it. But I've always felt very ashamed to raise my hands to God in worship and to stand up and to take space. And it's always been very I was standing amidst the crowd when we were worshiping at a camp. This has happened several occasions, and I was okay, I'm gonna raise my hand. I'm gonna raise my hand just to worship God. Then I did it, and I was okay, I'm doing it. God, I'm worshiping you. And then okay, now it's time to take it down. It was just really just based on my emotions, and I was looking at the people around me okay, is anybody looking at me? Does anybody think I'm looking weird? Can I have my eyes closed? Do I look weird when I have my eyes closed? I don't want people looking at me and thinking that I look weird and that I'm worshiping in the wrong way or whatever. My mind was not on God at all, honestly, because I didn't know Him. I didn't understand that worship is just about just being so focused on Jesus, and that's what we do with our body is just a reflection of that. So that was my approach to worship, and I loved to worship. I loved it just felt so amazing, and I had moments where my emotions had matched my spirits in God, you are so worthy. And just when I was alone in my room, I would jump, I would dance, but only when I was feeling like it. So I'm part of 5F Church, that's where I'm planted at, and it's a church in Los Angeles. So the time zone there, when they have Sunday service, it's been in the evening for me. And I've always, been very tired in the evening. So many times I haven't felt like worshiping at all. So I'm just, yes, God, you see my heart, and I'm just gonna sit here and just worship you, but not raising my hands and jumping when I didn't feel like it. I would not do that. But then one Sunday, a couple of weeks ago, Apostle Catherine said, we here at 5F Church are worshiping God in spirit and in truth. And that means that He is worthy to jump, to dance, to raise our hands to Him. And it's a choice to do that. It's not going by your feelings. No, it's actually okay, Jesus is worthy of this, and this is just an act of obedience to Him, and also just, it's true. It's true. He's worthy no matter if I feel excited to worship Him or not. So as Apostle Catherine said that, I was oh, that just shifted my whole perspective. So now every time we worship God, every time I worship God, I raise my hands, and I don't feel ashamed for it, and I don't feel I'm being fake because oh, I'm not feeling it, so I shouldn't do it. That was my weird reasoning before. Somehow that made sense to me. But now it's I'm raising my hands and I'm just jumping, and I feel my emotions are just following. As I'm doing that, I'm just raising my hands. God, you are worthy, and I'm thinking about all that He has done in my life. I'm thinking about the things that He set me free from, how good He has been, the things that He has brought blessings to my life, things that I never had before, peace and joy that I'm experiencing now like never before, gratitude that He's led me to His revival, to 5F Church, gratitude that I'm planted under such a safe spiritual covering, and gratitude that I receive equipping during the week that literally saves my life. It saves me from going into the enemy's traps and falling into the enemy's schemes, because God just has His apostles and prophets in place there to have the eyes to see and to know the schemes of the devil that the devil is trying to do right now. And God speaks through His apostles and prophets okay, this is what the devil is doing right now, and this is how to overcome it. I've seen that in my life. I see that in my life literally every single week almost, as the Sunday message comes, and then it's Apostle Catherine speaks on something that I'm going through in my life, and I'm oh my goodness, it's just confirmation from God. So as I'm worshiping God, I'm thinking about all these things, and I'm just bringing them to memory, and God, you are worthy. And then it's it's so natural, because I feel it, and I'm yes, God, you are worthy for me to give all in my worship. I'm not ashamed. I'm not ashamed of how I look when I worship. I'm not ashamed. I don't care who's watching me. It's all about me and Jesus now. And so I feel so free in that. Like, wow, God, you've taught me how to worship in spirit and in truth. And like, even if it's like late at night, I do this because I remember like in the Bible, King David says like many times, like just pressing into the night. I'm worshiping you, God, through the night. I'm thinking about you. I'm crying out to you in the night. And I'm like, God, I'm crying out to you in the night. Like, I'm just pressing in because I know, like, just because it's in the evening or just because it's not like the ideal time for me does not mean that God has stopped being worthy, does not mean that God is not only alive and active and working during the day, but he's actually just as alive and active and working in the night time. So I'm like, God, I'm gonna worship you no matter what time of day it is. If you wake me up in the middle of the night, it has happened. When live streams are like in the middle of the night, I'm like, God, you are worthy of this. You are worthy of this. Like literally, God is worthy for us to get uncomfortable, out of our comfort zone, go into the wilderness, go through refining fire. God is worthy of that. Like he's bringing us into a whole new life style and whole new life. Like he's just transforming us so much. He's worthy. He's worthy of our sacrificing everything. He's worthy of us surrendering everything, like every single dream, every single desire of our hearts that we have, every single selfishness, every single bit of pride in there. God is worthy of us to just throw that all out and make room for only him, because Jesus is all that we need.